Ah, yes, once again, the Houston Outlaws get dragged out to face the Los Angeles Gladiators, who sort of look around them and go, right, who do we have basically nailed down? Who do we feel most confident about getting over here? And Unter made it very clear last time the Gladiators played the Outlaws. He said, I mean, we think you guys are the minnows here, the weakest by far. We want you to face us again, Matt.
Yeah, not exactly the nicest from the Gladiators in terms of how they view the Houston Outlaws. Although Houston feels like, I think I saw Jake tweet out that like it feels like they're all starting to hit their stride here at the right time, so maybe the Outlaws can make some noise. I also gotta say, Ovely and Reinforced definitely tried and made attempts and did the Hawaii thing good. Scott put zero effort in whatsoever.
Well, no, he said that he was wearing the last Hawaiian shirt, so it was more sentimental. Well, his shirt, the one he's wearing, you don't even listen to the pre-show. He said, I wore this last time I was in Hawaii. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel it. You know, he wants to try and channel that same energy, even though he's not sitting in a penthouse in Hawaii while we're still in the shed.
Let me go find a shirt I bought at a store in Hawaii and be like, hey, yeah, no, this is it. Like, I'm wearing my Hawaii best today. There are mountains on my shirt.
Are there?
There are mountains in Hawaii. I believe these are mountains, yeah.
The only mountain peeking out.
Yeah, Chelsea hates this shirt and she's away, so I figured why not pull it out.
The only mountain I see is peeking out over their shoulders, big guy. But let's talk about this matchup here. The Houston Outlaws and the Los Angeles Gladiators.
Keep using your VO in those B-roll things coming up.
What do you mean?
It keeps elevating your head. You know, you're gonna have to get a bigger box. I'll be so far off to the side, a little tiny box.
I mean, what they've already offset the cameras. I use a special lens to shrink the size of my noggin, Matt, but that's just more of like a insecurity thing. Again, Houston Outlaws here. Going into this matchup, Jake said, and I quote, "We're peaking at just the right time." That's very important in tournaments like this one, right? Now, do you want to peak this early? Well, maybe you want to slow burn, but you really have to hit another level against opposition like the Los Angeles Gladiators, Matt, who frankly have been utterly dominant, especially where it really counted, right? We think back to Texas, we think about that kickoff clash. They were the team. They had a clean sweep win against the Fuel in that final. It was undisputed that they were on top. But online, we know the Shock have been doing well. The Gladiators still need to double down and prove here in this tournament they are the best.
Yes, I mean, going into the kickoff clash, like the live event in Dallas, like it was not clear cut that they were like the best team, right? You knew they were kind of like in the mix, right? They had a shot. I think really proved there, though, not only to everybody else, but I think more importantly to themselves, right? It's given them that confidence to then come in, have a fantastic midseason madness. You know, now looking to take down a team like the Houston Outlaws, push deeper into this tournament. A good placing here, right? Combined with some of their things they've already done this season, gives them like a lot of lead points, a little bit of leeway going with the rest of the season. But confidence has to be at all-time high there on the Gladiator side.
Absolutely. I hear you guys in chat. Yeah, cast a start game. Let's talk about this starting lineup here for the Houston Outlaws. Let's get going with this matchup here. Pelican and Merritt, of course. Merritt, the artist and the creator of that triple kill railgun shish kebab bonanza that we saw on Colosseo.
Shish kebab bonanza.
Hey, he skewered him. Incredible. Obviously, very rare that we see like the triple kill off that one shot. That was a very exciting game. This team always is very exciting on a map like Colosseo, so hope to see that one come up here. But again, when it comes to the tank play, we have a decent idea of what to see from these guys, right? It's the Pigma, the Piggy Sigma, and obviously Dante turns up and shows us how their Doomfist goes.
Yeah, they know, if you're the Gladiators, you know basically by what the Outlaws are going to come out and do in terms of the tank role, what kind of compositions you're going to get. I think what that allows the Gladiators to do is they have so much flexibility just by keeping the same team in that they can, plan strats around this relatively easily.
No doubt about it. I mean, this is a roster here that, again, it's always got something to prove here in the Overwatch League. Before they can even look at taking on their opposition across the ocean, they have to get a quote-unquote domestic win here up against their opponents today, the Los Angeles Gladiators, who've said that their capstone, their defining achievement so far in the league, outside of obviously winning the kickoff clash, is being the most flexible roster. And Matt, it's kind of hard to argue with that, especially how Patapan very quickly got fast-tracked into, a top DPS after a little slow of a start in that kickoff clash. Now, there's no doubters left for him.
Yeah, and you can see the Gladiators just they're having a little bit of a laugh here. It looked like, Kepster threatening to throw a mouse across the room at Pelican. Pelican was a little bit shook. He started to laugh, but
He didn't flip him off. I'm certain of that. There's no way.
No, he would never.
If you saw some of the supplementary content, both these teams say that sort of Pelican and Kevster respectively are like the biggest pranksters on their roster.
Which you wouldn't guess. Like with Pelican, absolutely. Every time Danny interviews him, Pelican just trolls the hell out of the interview with like, oh yeah, Piggy wasn't good today, like needs to get better. Kevster, you would never guess. Like just whenever we see him on camera, just so focused, like kind of like silent assassin type that you would never guess that. But yeah, it's quite funny that they gave those answers in the kind of that content leading up.
Yeah, I heard the Gladiators got held up at customs trying to get in Hawaii. Obviously, weapons and sharp objects not allowed, so trying to get Ryder's draw line through was a bit of a test for them, but they obviously managed to make that happen. This team looking ready to roll now as Lijiang Tower comes up first. Now, again, it's loser pick for these maps. That's why the rest of this graphic isn't exactly filled in. But Lijiang first, a map we've seen both teams look pretty proficient playing the Doomfist. Reiner kind of plays everything. The Gladiators have not had to make any substitutions at tank to have the full array of strategies at their disposal, which is no mean feat.
And in this first map, it is the higher seeded team that gets to choose this first map. So this is a Gladiators map selection. Lijiang Tower does have a lot of really good Doomfist options. So it tells you either the Gladiators feel really confident in playing their own Doomfist against this and you're countering what the Outlaws are going to throw at them, or they have something planned, whether they want to run like a Reinhardt, let's say, in the mix.
Be a little surprised here if we get a switch. The Gladiators are night market first and foremost here. So Gladiators on the Doomfist plan seems to make perfect sense. It's the backlines, Matt, that are more interesting to me, right? We have Lucio here for the Gladiators.
Yeah, interesting. They'll go Lucio with an Ana, so a little bit more of like a defensive backline, so to speak. Like with Lasher, you're getting the Discord Orb on the Zenyatta and the Batiste with some extra damage as well. So see how the Gladiators play into this. Reiner goes right in, and he's going to get taken out. That's Immortality Field used straight away, though.
Yeah, and I think it was the Immortality Field that allows the Outlaws to punish Reiner in that way. If that's not down there, there's multi-kills that are going to occur against the Outlaws. So good response there, but Iris on Baptiste is just a match made in heaven at this point.
And we talked about it the last time we casted the Outlaws, that Dante does like a really nice job of peeling on the Doomfist, right? Getting back and protecting the supports. And when you're playing this backline, it is all about defense, I feel like, in my mind, right? With the Immortality Field, the extra damage with the Discord, like it's not a tremendously high healing high octane setup you got here. Is the Gladiators going to go in and use that speed boost?
Yeah, Dante maybe realized that where he seismic slammed to, not where he wanted to be. Funny Astro able to find that environmental kill here to start off the fight. So you're really seeing the strength of both of these backlines at sort of different points here. The Glads obviously can make it much scarier for the Outlaws to give up and play around the edges of the point with the Lucio in the mix.
Well, that's what happens when the Immortality Field doesn't keep people alive, right? You're able to just get right on top and punish. And Iris is going to switch over to the Ana, so this will give a little bit more healing output. Also, when the dive comes in, instead of like the Immortality Field won't have that, you'll have a Biotic Grenade you can throw at your feet, use on the other team. That's going to be a two-player Biotic Grenade right off the bat, but Kevster with some kills here in the back line may not matter.
Yeah, follow-up isn't there because the Gladiators kind of take the initiative away from Houston in that fight. Great start there as well with Shu popping off early. And even though Iris, tried to pave the way for the Outlaws, there's two players hit with their Bionade, Matt, there's just no chance to really do anything about it. Now it's at least even the Gladiators moving to the lead.
Yeah, there was a sleep. Like as the Gladiators were pushing towards the spawn, there was a sleep that came in. It looked like Kevster was trying to like body block. Maybe it was like a Biotic Grenade or something, but ended up taking out Funny Astro. But not enough speed to get back in the mix, right? Fast enough. You're gonna have to wait here if you're Houston.
A lot of burst damage there at Reiner, who has to pull out with the Meteor Strike now. Back in position, will be topped up. Some nice ult percent there for Shu to work towards. Find a grenade there to open. This will just slow the Outlaws down. It might make the sequencing a bit odd for Dante, who's a little caught out of the moment. He's going to have to use the Meteor Strike as well. Great timing from Funny Astro. Hit the sound barrier just in the nick of time. And here's Patapan with the overclock.
Yeah, the Transcendence is there, but that overclock will connect with a headshot and take a player out. But still the Gladiators in control.
Oh, you're kidding!
Oh, I was going to say it looked like it's going to flip, but a 360 shot there from Petapan also takes out Dante.
Pulse connection, though, on Shu. Pelican picks it up a notch in that fight there, and it's just as well, because if Patapan was free to start to pressure the point, it's a scary scenario for the Tracer.
Yeah, another shot there from on you would not have wanted to see that if you're the Outlaws. But nano boost here for both sides, so potentially just nanos for the Doomfist as they go in, try and make a play. See if Kevster can land a pulse bomb. We saw a nice pulse bomb out of Pelican before.
One from Pelican just now, like you said. Great start in this fight though. Reiner gets nanoed and blows Eris up instantly, and that really means that the Gladiators are now home free. They don't need to spend any more, and heading into last fight territory with a flip here.
Yeah, no nano used there by the Outlaws, so it'll be Pelican can get a touch. You can potentially use the nano here, even onto Lastro if you wanted. We've seen a lot of teams give the nano over to the Zen to make them even stronger, right, in terms of damage, but also survivability.
Merritt here just trying to poke from medium range. Catches those on the lurk. Left side of your screen. Pulse. Thinks better of it, actually just going to recall instead. Merritt under pressure, but he's able to deal with Reiner. The Doomfist is down for the Gladiators. Now this Pulse Bomb is even more important. Kevster sees the power slide, and Eris, Pulse there. Eris doesn't get close enough, though, to trade, and so he goes down. Kevster picks himself back up, and Shoes found Lastro. This is good for the Glads, but they lost the flip midway through the fight, so they won't win the round here and now.
They might, though. You're going to have some players still here for the Gladiators. Are going to end up flipping the point as Pelican's going to get on touch, and he may not even get a use of this nano boost if you're the Outlaws.
That's the recall now. Pelican's got nothing left in the tank. He cannot get away. Overtime, though, is still going because Dante is back on the scene. Nano boost now for the Doomfist as Ryder tries to turn and get the seismic Sam slow in the backline of the Outlaws. But Dante tries to dig it a little bit deeper, and he gets Patapon. That's perfect. With 4 players, the Houston Outlaws come back onto the point. Pelican set up the stall, but the Outlaws aren't done yet. Reiner flattening, Merritt coming down with that meteor strike, means Dante's forced off. And the Gladiators sneak this one away. It's a little messy at the end there, but a C9 is a bit of a stretch there, Kev.
Yeah, I don't think so. It looked like Dante may have used the seismic slam to get out of the way of the meteor strike, and then as he's trying to get back onto the point, just gets punched off of it. Wouldn't exactly call it a C9, but you know what though? You're sharing the same room, you type C9 in the chat, everybody on your side gets a little bit of a laugh. It makes it even more of a feels bad for the Outlaws. As
watch out, them ultralights are about to start crossing the room.
Yeah, hey, they should have brought in some, Call of Duty players as coaches here. Coming into Hawaii would have paid off in the setup. But so we'll see what the Outlaws probably go back to the Tracer. Like, I don't think they'll change anything up here. I think you'll probably see, ooh, okay, so we're gonna see Genji from the Outlaws. You're also gonna see it from the Gladiators, but they're gonna keep the Tracer in the mix. So
yeah.
Ditching the Sojourn here.
Interesting, both teams valuing Genji, but in different ways, at least in comparison to some of these other DPS heroes. Patapon on the Genji. Funny Astro going to chip in there and make sure Pelican is taken down far too early. The Gladiators are in sync right now.
And I think when you kind of think about this point, right, and the Sojourn's so good for like consistent damage and some medium to long range like kills with the sniper railgun shot. Like, what opportunity do you have that here? Especially because the Outlaws came out there running the Lucio here at the start, right? So they wanted to play a little bit, faster and more aggressive. You can play the Tracer with the Genji and get kind of your traditional type of dive going on. But now the Outlaws are going to switch things up. Lastro will come in on the Zen, and then you're going to have Pelican move away from Genji, and he'll play the Echo. So want to move away from like that dive composition altogether.
Pelican obviously wants to try and fell one of his opponents really early in the fight, right? That sort of burst impulse that can be provided. There it is. Patapon gets burnt down. And that's a great defensive disruptor shot. Kevster can't get close enough because of the Sojourn AoE. Very clever.
Yeah, basically just drops the disruptor shot on his backline. And you can't just run into that, right? It's going to slow. It's going to be very difficult, especially with just the squishier targets for the Gladiators. So not able to run a really interesting use of the ability there from Merritt. So you'll have Reiner go down, but it looks like the Gladiators want to push forward a little bit here, poke a bit. He's going to have both support ults coming online. Oh, they use a nano and go in straight away. This is interesting because you're not at full strength yet for the Glads.
I like this, though, from the Outlaws. Again, you try and set the pace yourself. And no, I don't think Dante expects to catch Astro with that Meteor Strike, so he'll be pleased with that one. And that's all he really needs. Without the Lucio, the Gladiators don't really have the maneuverability to get any opportunities to take the Outlaws by surprise here.
Well, you're going to use 2 ults there, though, for Houston, and you're only going to get to about even. Like, maybe you wait a little bit. The Gladiators are going to push them straight away, and that's going to be a Sound Barrier combined with the Meteor Strike. That's going to be 3 kills straight away for the Gladiators.
Right. So 2 ultimates for 2 ultimates, Matthew, but the Gladiators now are about to head back into the lead, and the Outlaws don't have too much left in the war chest. Be an overclock here for Merit.
You know this is going to be a potential fight win here for the Gladiators. You feel really good about it with a Nano Blade on deck. So then what, you're looking at getting up to like 70+%, depending on, you know, when that fight kicks off, and you know, if that ultimate goes the way you think it does.
Reiner there just forces the immediate right-click punch from Dante. Hoping to interrupt there, but here's that blade coming in. Nano, of course. Lastro is out of options in time. Pelican seeing better days as well. Kev's just going to be able to finish that kill off there, and the Gladiators make it 2 in a row. That was their ultimate bank spent, though, now, and the Outlaws are coming back to a peak in their economy. It's going to have to be now.
But still, in a scenario like this, and when you're getting to last fight territory on a map, then the pulse bomb onto a support is enough to like change the tide here. You know, Lastro will have the Transcendence, but still, it's going to be a big dive coming in. Reiner collapses with Potapon.
That's a nice biotic grenade there from the Outlaws. Iris nails that one, and Merit's able to start to push through a little bit more with that overclock. Okay, Nano here. For who?
Well, it's a Pelican's Nano.
Yeah.
So
it's a free one.
I mean, yeah, it's free. Like, didn't really do anything, but you may as well pop it in case the Gladiators start to march on in. So Outlaws have to be perfect from here on out. You have both support ults here, so pretty big advantage for Houston as Gladiators make a change of Pathfinder going over to the Sojourn here late.
All right. Won't be thinking about ultimate here. Maybe disrupt the shot to sort of dissuade, but it won't work the same way against the composition. That's not really trying to dive in the same way. Pelican kept topped up in their left-hand side room, though, and Reiner goes overhead. Good sound barrier timing from Funny Astro. Just quickly enough so that Reiner survives and now can get out with a Meteor Strike. Pelican is brought down by a railgun, and Kev's just been mostly undeterred for much of this fight. Again, very defensive zoning here with that disruptor shot, but why's enough time at least for Dante to get rid of Shoot? Kev's being harassed by the Doomfist there, Patapon. That's a crucial kill. He has a Doom in his face, man, and he gets both of them at 20? Unreal!
He's not going to live for long, though, and Pelican's going to get a Nano on the way in.
Trace and Nano here. Pelican only has a few seconds to make this work. Reiner's going to be topped up, though, and Pelican has to recall here. Another disruptor shot thrown down by Merit to create a little bit of that space. But it's the Gladiators holding the point right now, and Iris is down. Pelican is too late to save his Arda, and now he might be in trouble himself. Kevster wants to try and control that mega health pack. He picks it up, and Reiner's going to back away here. Power block gives enough time for Shu to top him up, and it's all the Gladiators here. They'll be looking just to finish the job now, and Lijiang Tower goes away the purple.
And it was two pushes that started the same way and had the same type of action are really the ones that decided that round. When Funny Astro was able to follow up Reiner, who's using the Meteor Strike and going in with the Seismic Slam with that sound barrier, that's when they saw tremendous results. It was like Patapon and Reiner going in, picking up some kills that first time, and then Reiner and Kevster the second time. But man, that collapse is really strong there from the Gladiators.
Right, it's a great example. They win 2 fights in a row with ultimates. That third, they had to kind of do it without. You mentioned like a Kevster Pulse or a support. It doesn't happen, but they still win the fight because of that Doom and Genji dive. Another example of the Gladiators showing flexibility with a switch in that second round to give them success. Don't go too far, everybody. This is far from done. We'll see what the Outlaws have for their map pick. In many ways, these two teams are fighting for the chance, the right, I guess you could say, to take on one of the best teams from the Eastern region. The winner between the Outlaws and the Gladiators not only will advance, of course, in this upper bracket, but they'll take on the winner of the Hangzhou Spark and the Seoul Dynasty. There's been a lot of talk, especially from the West, about saying how they feel like they are well positioned to be the best region with the best teams. That'll be their chance to prove it, but in order to do so, of course, we have the matter of this match to deal with here. Matt, the Gladiators go for like a different backline to start with here. The Outlaws try the Baptiste look on Lijiang Tower. It doesn't really work out. They end up going for the Ana, and then the rosters look fairly similar with their picks. But here in the second map, we have Dante coming out, Piggy coming in. What are we seeing here?
Well, so the map will be Midtown. That is the Outlaws pick. I think you're going to see Sigma compositions, right? When you see that Piggy comes in, he's going to come in, probably play the Sigma. No changes for the tank on the Gladiators, like we mentioned. Reiner has been able to play just about everything they need, and even if he doesn't play the Sigma, he'll be able to work some other things in that have been successful. They actually bring in Skewed, so that'll be their big change. Skewed in for Funny Astro. I thought that when the Gladiators were like really upping the pace, I think that's when the Outlaws started to like struggle against it, right? Really gave the backline some problems, and just the Outlaws not able to come out on top in some of those like more frenetic engagements. But maybe if the Outlaws, right, you can bring in a little bit of a Sigma composition, slow things down here on Hybrid.
Definitely a sense that, once we saw the tempo taken by the Gladiators, they just refused to let it go, right? Refused to give it back. The Outlaws had a couple of scrappy engagements where they tried to take the upper hand or at least get control, but it seemed harder for them. It seemed a little bit more difficult for them to have as clean executions as the Outlaws. So Sigma here, presumably is what we would see from Piggy, as that's what it's shown us obviously a few times. He's always coming in for Circuit Royale, for example. And obviously, we know what Skewed plays, right? We see a lot of the Brigitte from Skewed, especially. The kind of player I think that is really managed to nail down a lot of the, not more than just the fundamentals of Brig, but also a lot of those finer points here. So smiles here on the faces.
Yeah, what do you potentially see? Like a Brig Zen type of setup, potentially for a team like the Gladiators, right? Maybe even see that Skewed comes in and plays. I mean, they could play a lot of different things. So really, the only thing that they lose here is the Lucio, right? Everything else, they're able to kind of cover. But in my opinion, Skewed probably comes in to play the Brig, right? We know how good he is in that hero.
Yeah, there is the option for like a, with this backline, you can see like Zen Baptiste or Zen Ana potentially as well. So double sort of flex support, as we use that sort of rather antiquated term, is on the table between these two. But that's something that the Outlaws have baked into their roster by default between Iris and Lastro. Lastro, of course, really, really prolific, especially Baptiste player in the past. And so is Iris. So you have a lot of options there for Houston. Both these teams looking maybe for compositions that offer them the greatest degree of flexibility, heading into a map with a lot of different strategies and kind of different parts of the map that maybe dictate changes in approach here. The Outlaws will be defending on Midtown to start.
And I think this is like an essential map for the Outlaws. Obviously, you wouldn't want to go down 0-2, but if you kind of play your Doomfist setup on Lijiang, which is like a pretty good Doomfist map, right? Then you come in here and try something different with like a Sigma and slow down approach, and the Gladiators really have to make minimal changes to make things work and win. I think that really makes it difficult on like, what do you do for that third map, right? Going into like an escort, like which do you decide to go with? I think it'd be really difficult. And
this is I would say not an uncommon response to the expectation of Sigma.
Schubert Sig one trick in the chat. Which, well, I mean, that's what we talked about a little bit at the beginning, right? It's very telling who's going to be by who's in, what tank you're going to get. And what's crazy is, like, I think every team knows that with the Outlaws, but they've been able to play at such a high level. Like, Piggy is so good on the Sigma, and then Dante on the Doomfist has been tremendous. Like, they're able to win on top of it. It's just, can you win at this level, right? Like, in a tournament scenario, especially I know in a loser pick map scenario that we would get into here, like let's say if the Outlaws won, probably becomes even tougher.
A lot of what the Gladiators are going to try and do here is ignore Piggy. Actually just try and go around him if possible. We often see defensive Sigmas like go up the stairs, right where Piggy is, and like play this high ground, this like off-angle Sigma, which we used to see in like double tank play in Overwatch 1. But again, if you can sort of get past him, find someone else to focus down, it's pretty good. Also, we've seen Doomfist used to like knock him off the high ground here. But look, I mean, yeah, Reiner's in, and Piggy is not really able to directly interact right now. They might try and pressure him directly, though.
Yeah, interesting. They kind of got Reiner all the way through, and then instead of waiting for his jump cooldown and kind of playing for his support maybe in the back corner, they actually opt to just go right back towards Piggy up by the subway.
I think a lot of the disruption potential comes from someone like Pelican, right? To what degree can he put pressure on Skewed and actually hover around that backline of the Gladiators while Los Angeles taking a fair amount of time to sort of decide where to go here? They're a composition that has to dive, and it has to be decisive, and this milling about leaves him vulnerable for Pelican to dive in.
I was gonna say, you can only play in that open for so long, like, as a Winston with just bubble, against the type of damage, especially with the Discord Orb in the mix that the Outlaws are putting out. And, you know, Reiner falls there, Pelican's gonna get Merit, and you're gonna have Reiner coming back off spawn, you're gonna have a nano boost here, so this could be pretty good for the Gladiators.
And that's an argument for the milling about phase, right? Just allow Patapan to get good position, this is quote-unquote good position on top of the fire truck, and find a pick. And that really weakens the Houston Outlaws here. They will try and play out with the Sigma, but it's a little uncomfortable moving into the open with that shield, as it's obviously not omnidirectional. And there it is, look, I mean, Piggy's being ignored right now. It's onto the backline of the Outlaws, and Iris gets popped like a balloon.
And I mean, it's a nice accretion there, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, Piggy moves out, gets the nano. What, you have Reiner and Kepser go right around him, and then everybody else that he's looking at just backs up. And he's just kind of stuck hanging out in the middle of the point with a nano boost on him, and can't really do much. And look at this, Kepser is pushed up trying to get this top bridge control right away. Gladiators want to deny this area of the map.
But this leads back to our discussion right at the start of this series, Matt, as to why flexibility is the main attribute that's going to be under scrutiny for these teams today. It's not a big deal if teams know you're going to play Sigma. It is a big deal if they play around the Sigma with the knowledge that he's coming into a pick like Winston and sort of punish your lack of mobility.
So the gravitic flux here, did it actually catch Patapan? It does. So it's going to be Kepser with a blade. Reiner gets put to sleep, but it may not matter.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Kepser deflected someone's projectile into Iris' noggin there, and then is able to find a blade kill. So very good start for the Gladiators here, and guess who's last alive? It's the tank. That's a very good sign for an attacking team if the tank is sort of sat there looking like a stunned mullet with no ability to impact the fight.
Yeah, and the blade gets used by Kepser, and he switches off right away. And okay, we're going to get Piggy on Winston here. So sees that this Sigma's not going to work out, going to go over to the Winston. Piggy, traditionally in Overwatch 1, like an off-tank player, really think like, D.Va's Sigma. So Winston, not a hero we've seen him play a ton of in the past.
Right, very powerful hero just fundamentally here, so let's see what Piggy can do with that skill set. Well, he's very good at turning around and showing his tail feathers, Matt.
And this is why a team like the Atlanta Reign, we talked about it weeks ago where Brad came out and said that they want to try and really mold Hawk into playing all the different roles. I think that's like a really good approach, because you have to have the tanks be able to play just about everything, especially in the game that we're in currently. One also thing in flexibility, we talked about like the tanks a ton, right? You've had Patapan play the Genji, you've had Kepser play the Genji. Like the DPS here for the Gladiators are so flexible between the two of them as well. Can play just about everything, whether it's projectile or hit scan.
There aren't many hit scan players. Yeah, there aren't any hit scan players that can play Genji. Like, name more than 3, I would say, at this level. It's very hard to do. So, very unique about Patapan. Good sleep on Reiner, though. Iris standing up where it counts here. This is a blade from Pelican, who seems to have a lack of targets, at least valid ones at this time. There it's able to find Reiner with that railgun. Winston, they waited out that nano boost on the sleeping Winston. And now Pelican has found Kepster. Going up, he says.
The time has been pretty good, though, for the Gladiators. You've gotten around this second corner with that payload already. 3 minutes plus on the clock. It looked like Pelican potentially was going back to the spawn to make a switch, so we'll have to keep an eye on his portrait. But
yeah.
All right, yeah, he'll play the Echo. Interesting that it wants to play the Echo when they switch to the Tracer, because typically you would think that Tracer's like pretty good against that Echo.
Here's the Piggy dive. Note that actually, Reiner put a shield down to try and break up some of the healing for Piggy, but it's a sleep dart. But Pelican, having switched to the Echo just now, finds his way and burns 2 down. So it's a trade here, but the Gladiators lack their armor. And that's definitely going to slow them down in a big way. And I kind of like, I mean, I don't know what you think back, but having the Echo here as an extra deterrent against the Winston, that burst against tanks seems pretty helpful here.
Yeah, I mean, you may think that the Echo is really good against the Winston to be able to like burn him down with the focusing beam, also being able to get in, put pressure on the supports. You know, you do have to be careful of Kevster though, because he can start to run crazy a bit.
Pulse from Kevster. Speaking of which, no connection there, but Patapan opened up the account, found that railgun kill. Piggy slept, that's big, and Scooter's gonna be able to walk away from this 1-8. Oh, he just kicked the man! Inhumane treatment of the angry Simeon. And yet the Gladiators, they move off the cart to do this.
And Piggy had ended up using his Primal Rage there. I don't know whether it got off or whether he was like biotic or anything, didn't get like any of the effects of the heal, but man, that is brutal, especially at this last time where you can stall and the Gladiator's going to come up on 4 ultimates.
Or, yeah, he could have bioed. It could have been that when you nano someone right and there's that sort of window where it has to connect. I'm not really sure. Either way, he's lost that key ultimate, Matthew. Well spotted. Reiner has a primal though. Merritt back towards the cart now as he's just caught in the sights of Reiner. Now with one swipe, that'll be another elimination for the Winston. Very clean stuff from the Gladiators here. The Winston comp from start to finish, looking stellar.
I'd also say when the Outlaws switched to the Winston comp, like, it wasn't bad. You know, they were able to get a few holds there consistently. Once they went over to that Winston, it was really when they were trying to play this Sigma, which is why they have Piggy in the game primarily. That's when the Gladiators were able to get most of their progress done. So we'll see what the Outlaws decide to do on offense here. It'll be interesting what they do. Do you go with a Sigma-based offense and try and take some of the high ground, play a little bit slower? Because you're going to see probably the Winston at the choke for the Gladiators, which could be pretty strong.
Patapan making it clear in chat. Yeah, he's 9 final blows and 0 deaths right now. 15-0, presumably in elims. But look, I don't think you have
about his stats versus Kevster. I don't even think he was really worried about the Outlaws.
Yeah, saying Kevster is number 2. Yeah, I mean, look,
we're concerned with Kevster.
That's a. I don't. There have been a lot of players that have faced like extra scrutiny in the Overwatch League in the past, right? Yeah. I think that, you know, as we see this Patapan clip here, I think Patapan is obviously one of them, right? It's pretty clear to see that while he staved off a lot of the criticism, he sort of shrugged it off publicly that he saw in the kickoff clash. Like, it definitely affected him. So emotional when they won that kickoff clash final. You could see how much it meant to him to sort of prove everyone wrong. So I'm sure Patapan is more than happy to keep reminding people who's top dog in cases like this.
Well, I think now you see that as he's gotten over that hump and the team really kind of getting over it as well by winning the kickoff clash, it's allowed him to play a little bit more free, a little bit more loose. You know, he's kind of gotten that off his back already, and he's been playing phenomenal ever since, right? He had a great kickoff clash tournament, been looking great ever since. So interesting. The Outlaws, they were coming out on a Winston-based composition, maybe thinking that there was going to be either, you know, the Winston-based comp for the Gladiators on the other side, but it's Doomfist. So the Outlaws switch now back to the Sigma comp, so they'll play Sigma with the Echo here.
Definitely know that Pelican's probably happy to see a Doomfist there, as really hard for Doomfist to interact with the Echo at all. Often why we saw that picked early in the kickoff clash on a lot of those Doomfist maps, but Reiner can still do a lot of work, and this is what Patapan does, and I wanted to bring this up at the start of the round. It seems like a matter of time in so many of these fights, Matt, when Patapan's on Sojourn, that he just manufactures a pick. Whether it's on attack and it gives him a point, or on defense here, or it just buys like an extra 30 to 40 seconds.
Well, the Sigma shield is not large enough to cover most of the choke, right? So he's able to get a sight line on some players coming in. And last show, a very slow target, you know, moving on the Zen. Has to be really careful. Same with the Iris, right? So we'll see if they can get these 2 supports through the choke alive. As Cindy Ellis trying to play for this left building, but it's going to be funny again, getting the kill on a Pelican.
I know, I get it. For some frustration maybe as well. Piggy's already so far forward that he can't get out. Not expecting, obviously, them to lose their Echo here, so to a degree, the Outlaws, you know, commit. Give up a decent amount of ult percentage here and sort of have to back away.
There's not really a lot of speed to get players on the Outlaws in, right? Not running like a Lucio. The Winston bubble, although it is static, same kind of like one that's placed down like the Sigma one. Just way bigger, dome shape. So Pelican goes over to Tracer here. This allows him to get behind enemy lines a bit easier. But even if you did get behind enemy lines, like where they are,
that's
there's
unreal.
nothing. There's not really a lot you can do from that position with the heroes you have. The Outlaws haven't really had any pushes here, Mitch.
No, well, I mean,
it's just been how to get and kill at the choke every time.
Their composition is unwieldy. It takes time to get them in position, and then they need to stay alive while they get a pick, right? Pelican switched off the Echo, right? He realizes that it's too risky to hang there suspended in midair. But, I mean, this is a great example of why the guys are so good. Ryder's not even playing aggressively right now, Matt. He doesn't have to.
No, and that's what I was just going to say. What the Outlaws probably want to take advantage of is this is going to be a tiny sleeve. You got a bunch of players coming in.
All the boys turned up for that one.
Oh, it actually doesn't connect.
Way.
It's right around the corner. What you think this comp would be good for if you are the Outlaws is like taking advantage of Reiner when he dives in. But he doesn't even have to because the kills are just coming in at long range.
I mean, that's a great point. The Sigma's supposed to be reactive against the dive. You hit him with an accretion, right, while he's power blocking or something. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, he's bouncing in his bloody chair. I haven't seen that dab since I was 18. What is going on?
Oh man. I mean, that's how you know you're rolling. Just a little bit of smiling.
Oh yeah, this is the boy. These boys look
at
like
the Zarya comp. So this is like an old composition. We haven't seen this in a while. Kepster with a blade, Lasher with a transcendent. You have to keep Lasher alive here through this choke.
Piggy takes a ton of damage, trying to be fairly conservative with these bubbles, but his charge is nothing really to write home about, and there it is, another pick. This time it's from skewed. He used that transcendence. I guess Pelican was putting some pressure on. So Kepster says, I'm going to use this to get close. Now they're forced to transcend. Oh, it's all going wrong. The blade now. Great work from Lastro. Realizes he needs to double back immediately to Merit. Keeps him alive through this overclock. He gets rid of Kepster and Skewed is down to. It's a key opening now for the Outlaws to try and exploit. And so they do. Reiner won't be getting healed here. And the Outlaws, man, they struggle. From start to finish, it's been a struggle, but they get this first point at an extension.
At the final hour, it feels like. Do you think we'll see a switch out of the Gladiators? No, with the Zarya on the other side, I was wondering, do we see like a large compositional shift? Well, that's also a really good point. With the time you've set, right, you've completed the map a minute 26. You're not exactly like back against the wall here, right? You can play this Doom for a bit and extend this to a point where you get into a one-fight territory situation, or just bleed the clock out where you get one fight, you take a bunch of ultimates, chuck it on in, and you're good. You may not need to have a large reaction to this.
The Zarya composition as well is really incremental in how it takes map control, right? It really revolves around that bubble usage and that timing. So Piggy has eventually made his way to the high ground here, and he's really hard to shift now. The fact that they get that Doomfist kill means that Piggy can slowly get that energy charge. Now, I mean, you can't really contest this high ground easily for the Gladiators. What do you do? Like, how do you pressure Piggy? He's got 2 bubbles and a 90
Well, I think you play payload.
Yeah.
You play payload, yeah. As you see Kepster get on the payload. It pushes Pelican back a bit. Because the Outlaws don't have the luxury to kind of duel this out, right? And just take high ground control and wait. And get a position, because the clock is dwindling down. You're already down below a minute.
Piggy's probably lost a fair bit of that charge as well, if I had to guess. So we'll see, the Graviton Surge that have been built up pretty crucial here. There's not a lot the Doomfist can do about that, except beam me up Scotty and Meteor strike away. Slow and steady though, that may win the race here. It is a race though, be sure of that. The Outlaws now at 45 seconds left of the round. No bubbles left for Piggy, but he gets topped up just in time. And he burns showdown. Nicely done here, the Gladiators. Not really sure how to deal with this sort of very slow roll Houston Outlaws composition.
No, and that's why I thought maybe you would see some switches, but it'll be the Outlaws who take that second checkpoint. The Zarya really paying off here for the Outlaws. It's just, is it too late, right? Like, that's kind of what you're thinking about now. Like, did they kind of make this change and kind of figure this out a little bit too late? Because Piggy taking loads of damage and he's going to fall.
It gets harder now for Zarya because the sight lines are pretty long here and she doesn't have the ability to go like high ground, low ground or whatever. It's very out in the open, so we'll still see Piggy go for this pick here, but I'm curious to see how the Outlaws get the same level of utility from the Zarya. Kepster checks his schedule here, and it's Pulse Bomb o'clock apparently. We'll have that ready for this next fight.
And this is what I was talking about, where the Gladiators are not in a position where they needed to force something to make a switch, because, look, I mean, they're not even around the first corner. I mean, that's going to be a Transcendence Force there from Pelican, which is nice, but they're not even around the first corner, and you're at a minute to go, right? You've held on to 3 ultimates here. You know, Rhino will end up getting a Meteor Strike as well. The Outlaws had to use a lot to even just get that second checkpoint, where you're in the driver's seat here, right? You can lose a fight, like the Outlaws have to dump ultimates into these fights to get the car going. You can lose a fight if you're the Gladiators, hold on to everything and just come back and just everybody just run out and just kind of use your ultimate and win a fight that way. That, you know, just by completing the map, it gives them such a huge time advantage.
Glad can also force a Transcendence here with like a nano boosted Doomfist in the backline, which is something we've already seen them do this series. Patapan overclock here from the high ground. Pelican can't get up there. He can't recall to that position anymore. So Patapan eventually finds Merit. And after thinking about Patapan, it just seems like a matter of time in so many of these fights. And it's an important kill to find. Pelican, great job with the Pulse Bomb. He gets a connection and Kester punishes here. It's a trade though. Messy stuff. The Glads may be disinclined to use too much more here. It's another nano now from Iris. They're going for it, but they lose their Arda. Transcendence now, well, they've used everything here, so the Outlaws better hope that this works out.
And this is what I was talking about. You're going to have a grab here from Piggy coming up, but you don't really have that much else where you can use the nano boost on a Reiner. Patapan now switches over to the Ash, so good damage with the Dynamite because everybody's going to have to play around the cart, and also the ability at even longer ranges to get those headshot kills.
Yeah, is it sort of constrained by Merit to medium range or dealing with... Great timing on that one, to be sure. Piggy Zarya also, that Graviton Surge is coming right up here. Reiner drops down. Piggy's waiting for him. Graviton Surge deployed to get rid of the Doomfist now. And the Outlaws are sailing towards home here as we're in overtime. But they're going to be happy with the completion one way or another. Patapan tries to coach guard himself away from trouble, but that'll be that. And at least the Outlaws get a map completion here. And don't forget, the Glads took their sweet time getting that first capture here with that sort of Winston comp that was waiting for a Patapan pick. So there's potential for a draw.
Yeah. Completely agree here as the Outlaws battled back using that Zarya composition. And they looked really strong, especially against this Doomfist setup from the Gladiators. What do you do on defense here, though, if you're the Outlaws? Do you come out and play a Sigma-based comp? That's kind of what you got, you know, really kind of like rolled on a little bit at the start. Do you try and play a Zarya on defense? Try and make that work, right? It's interesting. It looks like they're going to come out, though, with the Sigma. I kind of agree with this. There's not a ton of time for the Gladiators, one. Two, like, I feel like you wouldn't play the Doomfist here because you don't have Dante, and playing the Winston potentially like leaves you open to the Doomfist coming in and really causing problems. And I think Zarya would just be a real that's the bubble I was talking about. Just the reaction time there from Piggy was insane. And then also with the bubble, you get a biotic grenade right on top of Lastro, and you're able to top him up really fast. As I know you get that kill on the Lastro because you're all in at that scenario, right? With a nano boost onto Brian.
Oh yeah, you
get that kill. It's all good if you're the Glads.
So last time we saw the Glads win on point A, it wasn't because of clever rotation so much as the man on your screen. So Patapan was the one that gave them the opening here. I want to see what the Gladiators sort of do with their Winston setup and how they sort of probe for weaknesses, in the event that you can't just, like, guarantee an insta-kill here. Kev's depression, though. Piggy managed to find him as he pushes up, and not a good start for Los Angeles.
Yeah, Pelican's got to be so careful, though, because you got these railgun shots charging up from Patapan. All it takes is one, right? You kind of get caught coming through an alley, and then you're in a lot of trouble. So
decent start though for the Outlaws. That first pick buys them some time. 35 seconds left now. That's the dive. So we're over to the fire station here.
And you're a nano here too.
Piggy's in trouble. I don't know how easy it's going to be to keep topped up here, but Merrick already catched us, so the pressure release for the backline of the Outlaws is palpable. Now they can keep Piggy topped up pretty happily right across the map as he may be. Nanoboost on a Rhino might be the play. You need to get this backline of the Outlaws done.
It's got to be the play. It's the only real target you have right now. As Patapan misses a shot there on a Pelican.
Got to be here we go. Slept immediately though is going to be right, and he's on the point at the very least, so he can guarantee some form of overtime, but the bubble's gone. Can he keep Reiner going? Gravitic Flux that's going to catch, skewed by the looks of things here, but Reiner goes down to a pulse bomb. Kinetic Grasp from Piggy rather, as he eats up that damage and stays alive just long enough, as Kempster really trying to outfox him here. But real credit to the Outlaws, they play this the right way, and this time they're not dealing with early picks from Patapan. It's a draw on Midtown.
It's a draw that almost feels like a win for the Outlaws in a really bizarre way, because the Gladiators looked like they had full control over this on their offensive side, and then the Outlaws, once they switched that Zarya comp, really started to get things going. They battle back, they finish the map, not with any time left, but still then hold on that first point defense. It's a draw, but it feels pretty good for the Outlaws.
Yep, the Zarya switch from Piggy seemed more like a last resort than anything else, but it ends up being just what the Outlaws needed to keep the Gladiators at bay. They're still behind by a map here, but after the draw, we'll see what map number 3 has in store. This one, I feel like we might have a match here.
Please don't let me in my zone. I just need some time on my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My God, on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in. I'm at my weather, it's on, yeah. Now they ask where I'm at. Making hits that line back. I'm MJ, I'm 2-3, man. I just need some time back. I'm zoned in like defense. My life gone, no recess. But I live my best one, so I got no regrets. So I'm gone. Finally back in my home. I'm working like so much. They swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now. Just leave it there, that tone. Ballin' can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
Once a relatively common occurrence, we basically haven't seen any draws at all this year until that one. That was the very first time we've actually seen a map end this season without a result, at least in the Western region. I'm pretty sure it's...
That's wild.
Yeah, the whole darn league. So credit to the Outlaws for bringing about this occurrence for the first time this season. And it took a lot of grit and a bit of a Zarya pick switch up to do so.
Yeah, once the Zarya came into the mix, it was a completely different map. Everything was cruising for the Gladiators. We even got a dab at a Reiner.
We did.
And then you know, since once that dab moment, everything went south. So it's still the Outlaws pick here for the next map, being as they're the last team to have lost a map. Ons will come in for Patapon. So this will end up being Dorado. So you bring in Ons, play that Widowmaker. Piggy will stay in for the Outlaws. So it'll be interesting that like maybe the Outlaws, they kind of see something that they can make work as the rest of the game goes on.
We've actually seen a ton of different strategies on Dorado so far this season, and lately we're starting to see more and more Wrecking Ball. That has precipitated some very strange sort of Roadhog-based compositions by some teams to specifically sort of shut that down. So Kaluj do it from the San Francisco Shock. So they're on the table. I don't know what Piggy's Wrecking Ball's looking like these days. Obviously, picks like the Sigma are still very possible if you're a defending team. But it's hard to go past the gold standard for defenses on Dorado, right? That high ground, that Winston play on first. I mean, especially if you're bringing like a world-class Widowmaker into your roster via substitution. I feel like the Gladiators probably want to go for something like that. Something tried, tested, and true.
Yeah, so, see, you know the Gladiators are going to run that Widowmaker here, going into Dorado. Do we see Merit answer back with a Widow of his own? Piggy, do we see him play like a Winston? Do they try and play a Zarya-based composition Dorado? Seems like it would be really weird to try and do that. Sigma still potentially in the mix. You can kind of play that high ground, you think, like first point, even second point as well. Maybe deter the Widowmaker a bit on the other side.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they really try and match Widows. We've obviously got some moments from that previous map for your enjoyment as Shu decides to reassume the position here. Obviously, this is a nice little turnaround for Reiner here. Again, the fight really gets opened up. Piggy blows himself up with those hyperspheres, and yeah, I mean, listen, trash talk in and out of game. We got this in wide as well. Thank you so much for that. So glad we got to witness that once more.
Yeah, it's, it would have been cool if they finished the map, but they didn't.
I mean, you know, there wasn't a ton of highlights up from in-game when I literally have a producer in my ear like, hey, guys, we've got this footage of a dab. So let's just run that. I'm like, okay, obviously, yeah, not much.
The best we got.
Not much to celebrate from the Gladiators after that because, yeah, they struggled to sort of answer this Piggy Zarya, which is, well, look, I don't recommend you necessarily try it at home. Although I suppose if you think hard enough, there's some inherent advantages to playing that style. It's just a little awkward. Dorado, though, probably not the kind of map you want to run that back on.
No. That's why I'm curious of what we end up seeing. It looks like at least as we load into game, it'll be the Outlaws on defense first. So we'll get an idea early of what the Outlaws want to run. I think if you're the Gladiators, probably like a Winston or Reinhardt-based setup here is the way to go and protect your Widowmaker at all costs, right? I think that's kind of a, really you bring Ons into the game to take over. I think that's kind of what you're going to try and have to set them up to do.
Yeah, and we know that Merit's strength is the Sojourn play. I kind of think that's Well, he's developing a name for himself on that pick, and obviously he's had some of the most disgusting moments on that hero. And we feel like Sojourn's kind of fine everywhere, right? We've even seen it played on Circuit Royale, like alongside a Widowmaker here. So I don't think anybody's going to complain about seeing this pick here for merit. Obviously, it doesn't offer you the same as Widowmaker, but perhaps that's, you know, by design. On the Gladiators side, right, yeah, Ashe is an option. Now, if you don't have inherent high ground, though, doesn't seem like maybe you want to go there, but I'm curious to see how Arns plays around that constraint.
So it looks like the Gladiators, at least here on offense, to start things off, not... Okay, so is this going to be what they're going to run with? Is it going to be Kevser playing the Widow and then Ants on the Ashe? Interesting. I mean, this gives you the opportunity, I was going to say, for Kevser to play like a Genji or a Tracer. So you see that it's going to be Reiner just standing in that Disruptor shot. So wants to soak up some damage that Shu can heal. For the Outlaws, it'll be the Sigma-based setup. So Sigma on defense here with an Echo.
Wow, they get up that high ground so quickly. Normally the car pushes up a little bit more, but I guess they really just want to be in position and ready for this. How do you feel about the Ashe here, Matt?
Gotcha, okay, yeah. The Ashe, I kind of like the Ashe in this setup. Being able to obviously put some big damage down on a Pelican rather fast, right? Not as susceptible to like an Echo dive as like a Widowmaker would be. Ooh, you see right there, almost a kill straight on the Pelican with a nice shot.
I love that timing from Arns as well. Just as the Dynamite peeks over Piggy's shield, he detonates it, so he'll get some value there. Dynamite's so good for that heal pressure, right? Especially when you've got like an Ana who needs to spend time actively clicking someone to counteract that. Can't just leave a Harmony Orb on them like you can with Zen. And this is beautiful, and this is sequential from the Gladiators, right? Arns looks like he's unbothered, flourishing, moisturized in his lane. He doesn't seem to worry too much about pressure from flankers, so he just starts to work down the Outlaws.
And I think this is what you worry a little bit when you kind of commit to a map now that you're going to have to play the Sigma on, is like the Sigma wasn't really what was working there on Midtown. The Sigma is what the Gladiators were actually able to take advantage of and set a pretty good time on offense. It was really the Zarya setup on offense that was the main difference maker. Ooh, Pelican gets really low. I was going to say, I wonder if there's going to be a shot that comes in from the side to finish him off. It's a Dynamite as Piggy gets forced into that mega health pack room. I was going to say, there goes Reiner right after him.
Yeah. Wastes absolutely no time. Oh my! The burst damage was ridiculous. Reiner's able to find Piggy there, but I don't think they're expecting a nano-boosted Winston. And Reiner gives us a blue steal for a moment there as he leaves Bob in his wake to make sure that security detail is kept on lock.
Is a nano lasher to keep him alive. Try and battle on through that. I guess it eliminates you from having to use the nano onto him at that moment. No, the Transcendence at that moment, but still, cart continuing to move. You see who's that skewed on the outside off angle there on the
pressuring down an Echo, by the way.
I was like, that player has armor up there.
Reiner. Gravitic Flux brought down, and Merit's able to clean him off there. Nice one, though. Onto Shu. That railgun is the kind you really don't see coming. And now the Outlaws are actually, for the first time this round, get to establish themselves after spawn time, I guess. That kill largely inconsequential.
Yes, the payload gets right underneath the bridge. Not any further, though. You don't have to burn the Transcendence there. If you're the Gladiators, now odds will go over to the Widowmaker here. So maybe you feel like just that one-shot kill potential here. A little bit too needed as you're trying to battle through some of this high ground.
All right, Kevster sticks on the car, wants to apply some pressure, force the Outlaws off of this high ground. It's kind of risky business, though, especially with a Sigma who can hit you with the accretion. But Arns is playing such a wide angle here. So many things at play from the Gladiators to say the Outlaws, get off there. Get off that perch, come to the low ground. They still haven't had to do that, though. Reiner gets taken down.
Looks like Pelican over the top. Gonna go try and get a health pack as things have stalled out a little bit now for the Gladiators as Reiner now goes over to Wrecking Ball. So get to see how they approach this with the ball coming over from the high ground.
Both Backliners and Skewed are flanking through the power plant right now with the Tracer. I'm not sure what that's about. Reiner on the ball, by the way. Whereas Pelican is looking for Arns here. Should be a Should be a slam dunk for that Echo if he gets the drop on the Widow. Transcendence here, yeah. Arms does go down as expected. Merity with the body grenade, he's not getting away. Ryan about to chase him now. Piggy in danger. What is his positioning? This is so weird.
And that was her use of the nano too onto Merit.
Yeah, frustrating there to lose him, but biotic grenade, not much you can do about it. Ryan causing all sorts of issues right now. I mean, we have supports on the wrong side of the map, ostensibly. Is the Gladiator snuck Shu and skewed well behind enemy lines?
And you see how aggressive Reiner is playing right now, just upping the tempo here, and that's how the Gladiators found success in map number 1. He's going to have a minefield here. We're ready to go. Is the minefield actually probably pretty decent because with the Sigma, you're going to play around the Sigma and his shields. You may actually catch a few players inside of that.
I love Reiner just says...
No Transcendence to kind of like get rid of the mines. I mean, you have the Piggy shield.
Yeah, Piggy shield. But I mean, you lose that shield straight away, which means that Arns has like prime sight lanes, so it's a little risky to do that. Reiner just basically says you have no excuse as a tank player not to play everything. Love it, that's perfect. That's exactly what you do against Widow here. Arns is asking for it. Really hard to make Widow work in this part of the map, to be fair, so maybe a switch to Ashe now for Arns. Pelican goes for the dupe, slept in midair though. Sleep of his own.
That's a crazy sleep.
Reiner was
we don't see it from Shu's perspective, but
there were 3 sleep darts there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to follow for sure.
I like the switch by Ons. You can see how effective that Echo is against the Widowmaker from that POV. As Dynamite goes down, nice shot there.
Yeah, again, tough to make anything happen after the Gravitic Flux, so the Ashe is in like a stagger position right now. Reiner maybe tries to get Arns out, but no escape there. Gladiators have to reset. Hey, look, Gravitic Flux, Pulse Bomb, right? You deal with some big ultimates in that last fight. You show at least proof of concept that the Ashe is probably looks pretty good here, and Pelican realizes that too. He switched.
Yeah, so we'll see. Now with the nano up on the high ground here, potentially for the Outlaws. Trying to think of like how the Outlaws can get this to a spot, right, with 1:30 left where they do not give up a map completion. Because the Gladiators are starting to bank some ultimates here. 4 ultimates online for the Gladiators. Really, they need about, what, 2 fights to potentially take it. That's going to be the minefield, and they're going to use the nano here on it. Kevster, beautiful sleep, though.
Yeah, Kevster still has to cross a wide expanse to get to his intended target. Now, the nano Lastro may be unnecessary, but it keeps him alive, and Reiner, tried to save the traitor, tried the body block, but the orbs came in above from the Wrecking Ball, so nicely done. And you talked about a bank of ultimates for the Gladiators. That has been mostly spent.
So yeah, I mean, you spend all of those and a beautiful sleep from Iris, so nothing you can do now. What do you have this pulse bomb? I mean, you're really looking at what? You got to get the Ana in this type of situation?
I mean,
maybe Merit?
I don't think the pulses have... Yeah, I mean, it's been tough for Kevster, I think, to get value out of those so far, but getting Piggy, yeah, that's the jackpot here, for sure.
Yeah, he's off to the side on his own. There's no support help at all.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Again, tough to do much about the pulse here. Takes so much damage initially. Transcendence is ornamental from Lastro there. Buys a bit of time, crucially. 10 seconds left in the round now. You can see Arnt's moving up. He knows he has a bob. If he can send this into spawn, it's going to be very, very hard to deal with. Oh, he's got to let it go now. He doesn't have any time. He gets brought down by Iris. Good awareness from the Ana there, and it's Reiner not able to touch. Unfortunate for the Gladiators. They cannot complete.
Yeah, but it's a good hold, though, from the Outlaws. I think from the Outlaws POV, especially losing Piggy there at the start. Really just kind of like playing on the outskirts there against Kevster and gets hit with a pulse bomb and just, taken down. That's a really good hold, right? Being able to deny them from completing the map. Now it's just, what do you put together on your offense, right? Do you feel confident enough in this like Sigma-based setup on offense? Does Piggy play like a Winston here? You can, I don't think you can, like, do you try and even play like Zarya? Like,
may I remind you that the Outlaws looked weak on offense on Midtown as well. They got their last possible opportunity there, and they still ended up finishing the map, which is quite astonishing. So the fact that they come back from such a weak offense there is good, but you can't count on it.
Yes. I do think they looked good on offense, the Outlaws, once they switched to Zarya-based count, but you're not going to be able to do that here, right? At least you would think. Maybe towards the end of the map, possible. But I think here, at least at the, from this like first part of the map, so that first checkpoint, and then towards that second phase, high ground just too essential here.
Man,
that is clean.
He's mid-blink there as well. That's really hard to hit. And Lastro, yeah, because of the height he gets, he actually can get... I mean, Reiner also... I mean, there's a bit of inertia with Wrecking Ball, right? So he tries to body block what he knows are orbs coming his way. But the viewing angle for Lastro is elevated because he got pile drove up.
Ans was, on the Widowmaker, relatively really quiet.
Yes.
I think the Ashe was able to hit a few shots, but let's see with the Widow on defense. Like, can they keep him alive? Does he have to switch yet again? Because you bring in Ans, because he's so good at Widowmaker and like these long-range hit scans, but if it's negated by like a Winston and Echo type dive, what do you do, right?
There's more expanse for Echo to cross here on the attacking side, so that might work in Ans' favor. It definitely feels like the Outlaws have a pretty comfortable answer to the Widowmaker pick in general. And you can see the Gladiators again and say, okay, well, we haven't got Widow Valley. Now we need to give more space so that Ans has yet another expanse to fire across. You know what I mean? They really have to try and play around this Widow setup. Like, they're not committing at all.
Like, yeah, no, I mean, well, where do you commit to? Like, I think that the gap is too large to go towards that back line, right? You're going to... A few players probably going to hit a few shots, eat a few shots from the Widowmaker. You see Pelican gets really low and finished off. It's a very difficult situation here.
Oh,
play from Kev's
right by a nade. Yeah, that's Shu coming to the rescue there in a big way. Can't deflect the disruptor shot when he stood in there. Good awareness by Kevster as well. He needs to move into line of sight of his Ana player, so he has to move through the disruptor shot in order to do so. Towards a Winston, by the way.
The Sojourn just gets outranged so hard by the Widowmaker. Like, Merritt can't challenge that at a distance, and look at this. I mean, Kevster just jumps up, deflects, gets right in his face, and just destroys any sight lines that he has.
Right, Ans again. Okay, I see. I see.
They're trying to collapse on him from every which angle.
Yeah, it worked out beautifully. Nicely done. A lot of maneuvering around a Widow composition. Piggy turns his back here. Equal parts disrespect and trying to obscure that headshot hitbox. And yeah, he's looking across the stage. He knows what he's done. Nice job by the Outlaws here. Ans is being handily dealt with.
Yeah. They did a nice job when they were on offense with the Widowmaker. Now they're doing a pretty good job when they're on defense. Dealing with that Widowmaker is the Outlaws. Let's see what they try and do. Can you get like the high ground control here early? There's a Nano Blade possibility for the Gladiators coming in. Kevster going to probably try and set that one up probably a little bit sooner rather than later, right? Right. Don't want to allow them to get set up on the high ground. Now you're going to be in for sight. You can definitely use it in a big way or try and get a pick here. Ooh, it's going to be Reiner getting a pick there on Iris.
Okay, not so bad though. It's a trade. And we've got a primal rage from Piggy, but he just needs to not die here. And if he walks away safe, that's fine.
Yeah, that was a transcendence there from the Outlaws too, though.
Here we go. Time for the blade. Oh, by
swing in.
Yeah, that's tough. A tough job, right? Piggy's done so well on the Winston in these last couple of fights.
Yeah. Now Reiner's going to match this. Going to go Winston beat Winston here. Is Kevster going to give up on the Genji Dream? Going to go over to Tracer. So Reiner's going to be careful. He's going to try and get out, but not able to do so. As he'll have Primal for this next fight, but the Outlaws are rolling here on offense.
I mean, that's... The rest of his team
I don't really think
you're
not really getting much out of the Widowmaker. I think you may have to go back to that Ashe again.
Piggy shuts Arms down yet again. Winston popping off. Reiner comes back too late. He's completely out of sync with the rest of his team because of that Oxfam level feed we saw in that last fight. So the Gladiators haven't been in sync for pretty much this entire phase of the map here. And here's where the Outlaws, they come knocking. They're here to collect.
Yeah, this is not good for the Gladiators. That's going to be the Transcendence. They're going to try and use the Transcendence to get players out. Since Reiner coming over the top, they're going to get a kill out of this.
Merritt down, Shu. Able to punish at least so. The Gladiators, while they're fighting their way out, they've given up that crucial checkpoint here and never got to fight on second, and the Outlaws are feeling some wind in their sails. Going to be a nano available for Iris here in this next fight. Piggy at the funny number here, of course not far away from another Primal himself. I like Outlaws in the Winston mirror all of a sudden.
So, yeah, now you finally get a hold here. Is you'll have Merit go and match here in the Ashe battle. So I'm really interested to see like how does On's going to stand up in this type of battle, right? Because typically when people play Widowmaker against him, like it's not really that many battles, right? In Ashe here, especially this part of the map, you may see a little bit more action.
Okay, Reiner. Oh, okay, opts not to go after Lastro initially there. Lastro didn't have a chance to Transcendence even if he'd wanted to, and I suspect he probably wouldn't have there. The Outlaws are going to be slowed up a little bit, but bear in mind, they just have to finish the map. That's it.
Can they finish the map, though? Yeah, the Gladiators kind of stand right on top of their spawn.
Yeah, I mean, this buys you what? It takes like 20 seconds for the Outlaws to get from here to the cart, so...
Yeah.
This adds up in a big way.
Well, especially if you're going to be able to follow it up on some kills.
You showed that door frame, Kev.
Well, I think he thought that he was actually going to play through there and maybe get one on the edge, but...
Oh, man, yeah.
Look, in this type of situation, you're not going to see a C9 that far.
Yeah. Well, Fleta, I mean, kind of showed us what you can do to opponents who aren't aware. His card has made some decent progress, though, Matt, through a tough part of the map. And now the Outlaws are breathing down the Gladiators next. They are so close. With a fight win there, they're in last fight territory now with 2 support ultimates to work with. This is dangerous for the Gladiators.
You're going to have the same for the Gladiator zone. That's going to be Reiner getting the benefits of the Nano going right over the top. And look at that. He split off the supports. Beautiful job there from Reiner. Yeah, that's going to buy a lot of time.
Yeah, Piggy frustrated there. Couldn't really do anything as Piggy wasn't unable to help out. Whoever was stuck down the stairs, unclear at this point, but that was a nano boost onto Reiner that had to be spent. But the Gladiators are more than happy to part with ultimates. This is the transaction, right? 1 ultimate equals 40 seconds. Yes, you take that on defense. Absolutely.
So now you're in trouble, I think. You know, if Houston uses some of these ultimates here, Mitch, and it doesn't end up going in their favor, the card's moving backwards, right? So you think even where the card is right now, you win a fight, you're probably looking at 2. Might force a recall. That's going to be your nano boost.
Okay, Nano to get high
to
ground.
Safety.
No player
Reiner splits
advantage.
off. Yeah, Reiner splits off Piggy from the rest of the team there just by being in that high ground.
Okay, well, that nano boost got nothing, unfortunately, for the Outlaws and their fans, and this could be nasty. Kepfer descends. Going to be a Transcendence in play here. Pulse Bomb thrown down. Kepfer again a little wayward with those today. Bob's going to be a bit of a nuisance right now, and you can see that, yeah, Skew trying to make sure everybody's topped up in this fight. Disastrous for the Outlaws as the 4-alarm fire begins to klaxon. There's 20 seconds left in the round, and Pelican has a play to make, but he's already been sniffed out.
Yeah, they know exactly where he's at. So he's going to get a stick. I mean, that could be huge. Let's see, you know, coming back. You have everybody marching on back here for the Outlaws. It'll be Lastro over to the break here.
You're not going to primal this. That's naughty. That's naughty! Yep, that'll be that. The Houston Outlaws tantalizingly close to evening the series.
Everything can't be a C9.
No, yeah, well, I mean...
Gladiators saying C9 now.
Depends who you ask. That's just not possible.
So, I think the Outlaws have an interesting choice here going into push. Do you go with something like Coliseum, where you can run like the Doomfist type setups? Yeah. We've even seen like teams run some like Reinhardt there potentially, right? Or do you play something like Toronto, where we've actually seen teams in the past use that Zarya-based composition and stick with what you got? At least early signs here in the lobby look like potentially Dante coming back in, so we'll see what they decide to go with for that.
Yeah, that's a curious one, Matt. We'll wait and see what the map selection is going to be here from the Outlaws. Their last chance to pick a map, so it better be a good one.
모르는데?
뽀꼬댁?
아닌데. 형 텐션이 더 떨어졌어.
오늘 지금
뭐야,
잘 못
헤드셋
쓰고
쓰고.
은퇴해야지.
Don't know what you just said, but okay.
Guys, is everybody sitting down right now? We need to start getting everybody to sit down.
Can you literally shut the up?
Can you really just listen to me? Okay.
Me and Wub are the only people in the lobby.
Dude, you guys said 1v1.
Oh, we're playing Wub today?
Wub. Wubby. Whoops. Wubs. Wub. Whip. Wooper. Wub. Where's Wub? Dove.
Huh?
Oh,
You say my name?
no. Never mind.
Danny, every time I win an off-roll, on an off-roll hero, you need to type, you just lost to Hawk Ryan, you just lost to Hawk Winston. I need someone to type that in that chat.
Let's go.
야나 원숭이 소리 내줘 그러면.
원숭이? 아, 나 원숭이 소리 낼줄 몰라.
아, 하잖아.
해줘.
뭐야?
야 돼지.
아, 이거 개 아파.
야 방금 너목 나갈 뻔했다. 야 조심해라 야.
형 다음 그 뭐지 리그 썸네일 형이다.
아우, 나갈 뻔했다.
오픈 마이크 이제 원숭이 합성 앞에 영원히 합성해가지고 이제.
되게 카메라 잘 나오려고 안경 벗고 이러고 있는 거 레전드 잘생기거든 레전드.
I feel like today, you guys need to carry me.
I feel like too.
이 냄새. 야 냄새. 와 신비주의 냄새 레전드.
The only thing that matters in this comp is the Ryan, so.
Yeah.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this first match of the day for the Outlaws and the Gladiators. A chance to advance in our Midseason Madness winners bracket to take on the winner of the Seoul Dynasty and the Hangzhou Spark. Again, second chance for the loser to drop down, and that may well be the Outlaws at this stage because, well, I've got to be honest with you, I don't know how much they got up their sleeve that is left. The Piggy Winston looked really good, actually, especially on attack.
Yeah.
They were punishing the Gladiators early, and then they came to a screeching halt in that last phase of the map as the Gladiators, rather, came alive.
And you see on your screen, we'll have really just one large sum. It'll be Dante coming in for Piggy, which fully expect now this to be a Doomfist composition as we go into Toronto. And Panapan comes in for Aunts. Look, when you see it come in for the Outlaws, we know what's going to happen. Fully expected Patty to come back in for Aunts, as we really just see Aunts play like, I mean, really what, just like Dorado, right? Like just like that map for long range hits again. It's kind of like it. Like
maybe I know that I watched on Scrim a lot of Ilios with the Glads early in the season. Circuit
Royale, possibly. We've seen him like a handful of times throughout the year, but
look,
really
can I be honest?
Seems to come in for
yeah, and when he comes in though, but I don't know. I've been a little underwhelmed, but I don't blame him. You're getting subbed in for a map where you just have to pop off as Widow.
I mean, we also have insanely high expectations, right? I mean, this is somebody who like.
Wait, but they're grounded in his past performances, not anything else.
Yeah, which like, right, but those are in the past, right? They've been in the past for a bit now. You still have to regard him as one of the best Widowmakers that we've seen right? But I think to expect these like magical performances from him, just coming in for a Dorado every once in a while, I think it's just unreal, like expectations. Like it's not like sure, maybe 1 out of every 10, but how many maps will you play all season, right? You're kind of like thinking, unless you see like a Widowmaker meta just pop up out of nowhere, right? Where everybody's playing Widow. I think those pop-off moments are gonna be just rare, especially when the other team is really not gonna like. How many other teams like when they see Ons coming to play Widow are gonna like challenge it, right? And be like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, let's try and play a Widow of our own, right? Like go head to head. Like most teams are just gonna kind of like strat against it.
Counter it. Yeah, playing against the Echo,
yeah.
right? It's frustrating, and you saw just. I mean, Pelican is. I mean, his Echo was one of the main reasons why the Atlanta Reign was so dominant. You know, when he was on that lineup, and especially when it came to like end of tournament play and the kind of play that got them to Hawaii in the first place, right? So no surprise to see that be really effective. So okay. So moving forward then, instead of looking back, Patapan comes in here. He looks incredible. You know, when we've seen in this series on that Sojourn, we are going to get to see New Queen Street. But, you know, a map where we've seen Zarya, that is true. That's not the plan for the Outlaws, right? Dante obviously is in here, and we know what to expect here. This should hopefully find the Outlaws in like a comfort position. There's always the chance that you can play like a Hanzo, right? We've seen teams double in the Hanzo, more so on Colosseo, but sometimes here on New Queen Street.
One of the more interesting things, I think, is that Funny Asher doesn't come back in.
Right.
So you'll have the Gladiators. Yeah, they'll end up continuing to play with Skewed in the lineup. So what do we see from them in terms of the supports, right? Do we see them go with like a Bat Zen? Do they try and play something along those lines? You know, Ana Zen? Do you play a Brigitte? Like a
surely not the
a few
Shusio.
scenarios. The Shusio.
Shusio.
No.
Okay, so Ana Zen. Okay, so I mean, both teams going for that look. Why so good at Sojourn though? Interesting. All right, you have my attention, sir. We got a neutral between the Doomfist. This often happens while the Tracers make their way into the back line. Look where the Zen is playing. Look where Skewed is. He's.
You could also play the Ashe here at the start, because early bot progress is so huge and crucial that if you get like a pick off, let's say with an Ashe, right, which may be a little bit easier, you can play at a longer range, like maybe you can actually get a little bit more progress early on. It doesn't seem to be working out that way though for the Outlaws.
I mean, Skew's playing that crazy off angle, and he brings Pelican down there. So the Gladiators had a fair bit of focus on the middle part of the map, right? Patapan's playing inside that tube right here. And Skew's playing underneath, sort of away from them a little bit more there. So I like the initial setup for Los Angeles here. Patapan now is in a pretty powerful spot, as you can see. Merit cannot do that on the Ashe. Patapan stamping his dominance here.
He couldn't do it on the Sojourn either. I mean, you kind of just strafe into the line of fire of a fully charged rail shot, and they really don't make it a difficult shot for Patty to hit. He's gonna hit shots like that all day. As you'll have a nano here for the Outlaws, which maybe you give it on the Dante to contest, because things could start to get out of control rather quickly. You're gonna have an overclock here. You're also gonna probably have a nano for the Gladiators too. So they're getting up to the butt scratch.
Yeah, I'd love like a counter, like that's the win probability based on like statistical data, sort of going up or going down based on like that first fight progress or like the first team to get the bot to X distance, because that's the checkpoint already for the Gladiators, and they don't look like they're slowing down. Ryder may be forced to bend the knee here. He can just ult out. Oh, you're kidding.
Just stay on in. Is they're going to push on forward.
Okay, I think most sort of stable individuals probably don't do that, but that's Ryder, man. He's cracked. He's going for broke.
I mean, more progress, right? You're going to have players coming back off spawn here for the Outlaws. Still with a nano, but you don't have to play on the bot here. If you're the Gladiators, you can back up a little bit, concede some space, wait for Ryder to get back, because he's going to have that closer respawn and Doom so fast. And you see, yeah, he's already back in the fight.
Stand up straight.
Notice that Iris really tries to avoid scoping. He actually, I mean, something you notice maybe as Ana players this year is that he actually, you know, deals with the projectile aspect of Ana's healing a lot. He doesn't want to scope in if he can help it. At quite long ranges, he's still able to heal people like that. It's quite impressive.
I feel like this kind of jockeying for positions almost better for the Gladiators in the long run, because they're going to have this transcendence on them.
Any situation where game state doesn't get advanced in the Outlaws' direction is obviously great for the Glads, right? They've got such a lead, and they can just sit back and wait for Patapan or Kester to find a big pick here. Lastro gets nanoed. Very, very scary stuff. You approach with care as Lastro gets a trade, but you nano for a trade, it's not good. It's just not a great rate at all, and that bot is moving awful quick back into position.
And Dante's got to get back to the rest of the team. Be careful. He knows that the pulse bomb was on deck. Who is this behind us? Oh, looks like Pelican has made it all the way around. Okay, trying to get out. So the bot doesn't make any progress really for the Gladiators, but it doesn't really matter, right? They have in such a great spot.
Not a lot of one-hit potential here. Like, Merit can't really, you know, like, he can't just dish out a rail at long range for like an insta-kill the way that Patapan can. So, you know, Skewed can play these kind of long-range angles, these kind of risky ones, and no, he takes the hit, he just backs away, and he's... Oh! What is that? Patapan with open arms gives Pelican the kind of bear hug he'd rather avoid.
Those are probably the easier shots to hit. Like, think about when you play Hanzo, obviously way different, but Hanzo, like, just kind of like spamming chokes with like those arrows, right? Like, you have a rail and you think about Tracer's body, like, takes up like a decent size of that window, and the rail, like, projectile, like, width is like pretty forgiving. Like, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna hit something as that projectile goes through. 5 minutes and 30 on the clock. Switches come in for the Outlaws, but I mean, this bot is just rolling on in though.
This is leisurely for the Gladiators now.
There goes Pelican.
I mean, Skewed is up. Skewed! Oh! Okay, dude. Why is he there? Who knows? Doesn't matter. This is about to get out of hand. I mean, what a way to dispatch a foe by full clearing them in the last map of the series. That's starting to look like a bit more of a distinct possibility now. Overclock for Patapan. He's got that tack shooter flick, Matt. Beware. Iris down to that headshot here, and I don't hate that from Dante, but it's still not enough to put actual pressure on Patty. As the bot will continue its inexorable advance, and Merit's questioning whether he really wants to contest it. I don't blame the guy, honestly. Last three gets rid of Reiner here, and again, it's going to be a war of attrition, and the Gladiators are winning out in 127 meters and counting. Dante hit with a biotic grenade. He's done here, and Pelican won't be able to hang around for too much longer either. Oh my, that was a stinker!
That is so the Outlaws are playing that series close. That is an absolutely brutal way to lose, though. The Gladiators get control of the push bot and march him all the way down, completing the map, and I believe the Outlaws finished with 0 meters of progress.
Yep.
Just nothing there. So you see Unter going in there. Beautiful haircut.
Yeah,
funny
Unter with
all smiles.
Unter with the definition of what we call Dero chic in Australia. Yeah, really.
Oh, okay.
Dero is like a short form of derelict, you know, like kind of unkempt on purpose. You know what I mean? That's kind of look there. You love to see it. Bring back an iconic Australian look, and well, the Houston Outlaws can't be feeling good about heading down to the lower bracket after that kind of statement's been made against them. And Matt, we said at the start of the series, we established this. We said what's going to be really put to the test is the flexibility and the range of strategies that the Outlaws have at their disposal. The fact is they came up wanting in that regard.
And I tell you what, I thought Piggy looked pretty good playing the Winston when they did it. And then his Zarya was really good. It's just that it's interesting. The two things that we know the Outlaws are going to fall back on is like the Doomfist-based stuff and the Sigma-based stuff. It's the things that the Gladiators were able to take advantage of rather easily, right? They knew exactly what was coming, the comps they were going to run around it, and how they were going to counter it. It's when they kind of threw in those wrinkles, right, of, you know, playing the Zarya, playing the Winston. That's when the Gladiators had their trouble.
Let's talk about our player of the match here for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Definitely a few players standing up here, but I've got to say, Reiner really impressed. We've got to see some wrecking ball from him, right, which is a bit of a rare retreat here, but the guy doesn't really seem perturbed about having to play any sort of tank hero. It's a consistent piece of why this team gets to boast their flexibility as a unit.
No, he had a pretty good series, but I also think it just kind of the overall meaning to this team and kind of seeing how two teams handle things differently, right? Where you kind of have to bring in multiple tanks for the Outlaws to kind of play different stuff, where the Gladiators are able to keep him in. And like what we saw him play, we saw him play Winston, we saw him play Doom, we saw him play some Ball. We know he can play Reinhardt. Like we've seen him do just about everything at an extremely high level. And it's such a huge thing that the Gladiators have that not many other teams in the league have at the current moment, right? As you go down to one tank, having one person who's able to cover all of those different heroes is tough.
Yeah.
And Reiner, I think, played great today, but I also think just kind of what he brings to this team is just so massive that I think, you know, when you see how the Outlaws have to come up with it on the other side, you kind of see that it's a huge advantage to have a player like this.
And then factor that in with the fact that both your DPS players can play Genji as well. Patapan is like very uniquely flexible in that regard. We just don't see that kind of crossover between projectile and hit scan heroes. And then you have a bunch of specialists for your backline that can come in here. It's a real recipe for success, but Reiner with upwards of 10 final blows per 10 is crucial. You can see just how involved in so many of these fights that he is. Sometimes the fight gets opened up by a Patapan like first pick. Sometimes though it's Reiner that has to go in and manufacture those opportunities here. So I think the Gladiators have done pretty well backing up their statement, saying we are the best, we're here to dominate. And it means that going forward in this upper bracket, it's going to get exciting because them going up against the winner of Seoul and Hangzhou, West fans probably feeling pretty confident right now.
Yeah, and I believe for the Outlaws, what it means for them, I was just told that they're going to play Toronto Defiant, which I actually thought Toronto played. I thought they looked pretty good against Shanghai. I actually think, Shanghai obviously takes that, but I thought Toronto put up a really good fight. So would not surprised to see that series be
very dangerous one. Yeah, very, very dangerous.
I agree.
You've laughed at me when I've said this before, but that definitely feels like a trap game. Stick around, everybody. Don't go too far. We've got more of our Western region teams fighting to advance in this upper bracket. Stick around. This is the Midseason Madness Global Tournament.
나이스. 하나 나와. 나이스. 나이스.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here joined now by Reiner from Los Angeles Gladiators. Reiner, congratulations on the win. Now, a good start for the tournament for the Gladiators, and I do want to ask, was there anything, I don't know if you watched the Houston match yesterday. I'm assuming you did. Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, was there anything you learned from that match that sort of helped you get the win today?
Well, we obviously went over in review, right? But the only thing I really remember is Piggy playing Ryan. And I heard that, I kind of just stopped paying attention. So, I mean, it's typical Houston. Dante in, they play Doom. Piggy in, they play mediocre gameplay.
Typical Houston mediocre gameplay. All right, and I also want to ask, because I don't know if this is true, but I remember seeing you today. I mean, Gladiators playing the Wrecking Ball dive competition. I don't think we saw a lot of that throughout the regular season. Was that something you guys specifically came up with for the Houston play, or was that just on the fly?
Well, I might be banned from playing ball in officials. That was an in-game swap where the coaches are muted, they can't say no.